Well, hello, Power Partners, and welcome to Starstyle. Be the star you are. This is your informational playground in the middle of summer, brought to you by Be the Star You Are charity. We're coming to you on the Voice America Network. This is the Empowerment Channel, so thank you so much for being with us today. In our show, in segment one, we're going to go into the garden because why do we love summer so much? Besides the fun in the sun with the camping, the picnics, the festivals, the barbecues, the swimming, the boating, the beaches, and all those outdoor activities. Another reason is I just love how the gardens are turned into vibrant living canvases of color and vitality because of the sumptuous sunshine. So we are going to talk all about that. In segment two, smartphones have become part of our personal lives and are filled with sensitive data, and we don't want it stolen. So it's important to safeguard your phone and your privacy to eliminate identity theft. I'm going to give you a few tips that might help mitigate those risks. But first of all, we have uh, a a miracle moment, which is brought to you by Be the Star You Are. You can visit Be the Star You Are at bethestaryouare.org. And this is from Maya Angelou. People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And this is a time I think that we really have to be thinking about people because our hearts go out to all the people who have suffered in these latest floods, both in Texas and in New Mexico. Be the Star You Are is doing disaster relief. You can go to bethestaryouare.org. But of course, the major thing is to help these people get their lives back on track, and it's just so sad with all the lives that have been lost. So I want to give out our condolences and all of the feelings just as a parent and a grandparent of what people must be going through right now. So I hope that we can all share it with empathy and do the best we can to help the people that we can. Another subject I just wanted to tell you before I go into living color, um, and in go to our garden is I just cannot get over the scams and spams that are on the rise. And I just want to tell you one that I just received yesterday that kind of blew me away. And it came in the mail from a letter with a FedEx envelope, return address, and an invoice attached inside that looked so completely real, with an account number, an invoice number, and all of this stuff. It actually came to Be the Star You Are. But interestingly, it had an old address. It said that we had shipped something to this company, which we'd never heard of, and that we now owed FedEx over $95 for shipping. It looked completely real. Of course, I looked up the real phone number for FedEx before. I did not call anything or go to the website of that, but it did like say FedEx.com on there. Um, and I tried to get in touch with FedEx, but I could not reach them. But I did reach a company that ships for them. And when I read all that to them, they said, "Oh my, I think it is a scam. I am going to go to a FedEx office tomorrow and bring a copy of this letter. I'm also going to bring it to the post office because I believe that this kind of scam, the post office wants to know about it. I don't know how much they can do about it, but I just want to alert you to it because, like somebody said to me, just think about it. If they're sending out, they're just, sending out this spam that these are mailed. These are mailed through the U.S. Post Office. If they send out 1,000 of them asking for $90, and or they send out 10,000, and X amount of people respond, that is just money in their pocket. So be careful. If you get an invoice and you don't know who it's from, be aware. Now, I think the interesting thing with this one is it was addressed to the charity Be the Star You Are, So they're probably thinking that a bookkeeper or someone who just pays the invoices get it and doesn't check. So if you are a bookkeeper or an accountant or somebody who gets the mail and then pays the bills, I think it really pays to check to see what it if it's legit. I mean, we knew we had not shipped to this company, so we knew this was false. But it just goes to more of the scams that are out there targeting not only charities, but businesses and just everyday people trying to rob us of our very hard earned income. And in this day and age, it's getting harder and harder. So that's just a heads up for you. I hope that helps you to be on the lookout because this is the first time I've ever gotten something in the mail. I get spam and scam things literally every day via text and email, things on text that'll say, you want to have dinner, or, oh, you didn't get back to me yet. Did you get my earlier text? You don't want to respond to any of those things. I block them, but of course they show up again. Well, let's get to our summer gardening because it is really kind of exciting right now. F. Scott Fitzgerald said, with the sunshine and the great bursts of leaves growing on the trees, just as things grow in fast movies, I had that familiar conviction that life was beginning over again with the summer. So, again, I ask you, why do we love summer so much? If you responded or thought in your head, because summer is the season of fun in the sun, we go camping, we have picnics, we go to music festivals, we have barbecues, we have farmers markets, we go swimming, boating, we go to the beach, and we just really enjoy the outdoors, you would be correct. With me as an avid gardener, I want to add this other reason that I adore summer. And it is because the sumptuous sunshine transforms gardens into vibrant living canvases of color and vitality. Just look around any of your local landscapes. What is in bloom? What fruits and vegetables are ready or almost ready to harvest? I mean, it's going to depend where you are, whatever, wherever you're listening in the world, obviously, what is harvesting in your garden. But here in Northern California on my farm, the summer gardens are just a kaleidoscope of vibrancy with textures and scents and patterns that only nature could conceive. In my personal garden, I have roses, lilies, hollyhocks, lavender, passion flower, 4 o'clock, sunflowers, star jasmine, bougainvillea, abelias, snapdragons, gladiolus, clematis, salvias, coreopsis, yarrow, daisies, and magnolias that are popping against the backdrop of a multi-hued greenery. Did that kind of make your head spin? I mean, that's a lot, and that's not even all of them. My cherries were really delicious. I think I already told you, I picked two big bowls before the birds harvested their bounty. I was able to share them with some friends, which they really enjoyed. And my fingertips have been purple from picking the juicy mulberries from the gigantic tree, which is probably over 100 feet tall now. When the crows moved in, the doves flew off. And usually it's the doves that are there, but not before two big bucks. These are deer. They station themselves under the low hanging branches to savor their supper. And it's so strange. They don't even seem to mind that I was dining nearby. I mean, everybody loves these mulberries. They're just so rare and they're so sweet. And I think that, it's just kind of a feast for everyone. Now, plums and stone fruits are ripening. Usually my plums are ripe in June. This year, it's been a little bit later. I see that the apples and pears are growing just appropriately now, and they should be ripe in the next month. And then blossoms are abounding on the squash plant, but unfortunately, I get all these blossoms, and then I'm not getting any zucchini. So I'm thinking I'm just going to start picking the blossoms and then stuffing them and, eating those because for some reason the blossoms bloom, but they're not producing the fruit. But I do have corn stalks that are reaching for the sky. And my herbs are really flourishing. I have all different kinds of herbs, basil and thyme and cilantro and parsley and rosemary and mint and all kinds of things that are just great. And I picked my first tomato the other day, and I can't wait for all of them to start producing, because I planted like 10 different varieties this year, including purple ones. I have purple, I have yellow, I have striped. We'll see how it goes. Now, sunlight in summer is direct and intense. And so the increased light enhances the color vibrancy. If you're wondering why the color is so acute right now, flowers, fruits, and foliage appear more vivid as plants are reflecting their spectrum of colors. Now, in other months, when the light is dimmer, colors aren't as rich or as bright as they are now in summer. And because of the longer days and abundant sunlight, photosynthesis is increased. Now, photosynthesis is the process by which plants convert light into energy. The pigment of green, which is chlorophyll, and the pigments of red, purple, and blue, which are anthocyanins, they're more active and visible, and they produce colorful flowers and foliage. So this is why summer is such a beautiful time. Now, most flowering plants are programmed to bloom in summer because they're receiving their maximum sunlight. The warm temperatures will encourage growth and flower production, and that bright spectrum of colors will attract pollinators, and they make birds and bees and butterflies very active, so that they're going from flower to flower and bush to bush and tree to tree to pollinate. Now, if you have plenty of tubular type flowers, as I do, you won't even need hummingbird feeders, because hummingbirds will be flitting from flower to flower, consuming the nectar and the small insects. And because we spend so much time enjoying the outdoors in summer, many gardeners actually choose and plant varieties that will enhance their patios and their yards. So if you want to enjoy a summer of living color, I have a suggestion of some plants that you can add to your garden. You don't have to add them this season. You might want to plant them next spring. Some of them, if you plant by seed, you can scatter them in the fall. But here is kind of a smattering of things that really have a lot of that texture, pattern, color, and are pollinator friendly. Hollyhock, echinacea, penstemon, yarrow, coreopsis, 4 o'clock, gaillardia, salvia, rose, gladiola, sunflower, bougainvillea, clarkia, ceanthos, lantana, butterfly bush, zinnia, marigold, petunia, cosmos, lavender, lily, and daisy. And of course, calendula, which is a pot marigold, it's been blooming all spring. If you cut it down, you will even get more. And of course, poppies the same way. Now, climate conditions, good maintenance, and personal decoration align to support summer's abundant flowering and fruiting. And that really invites us to spend more time in nature, because life does begin anew in summer as the garden is saturated in living color. Now, for this month of July, this is my Goddess Gardener guide for you, depending, of course, where you live, but in general, this is what you really need to know. Watering is critical during summer. You don't want to waste water, so you have to just be alert to your garden's needs. So make sure to water in the early evening. I mean, yes, the early evening or the early morning, and do it very deeply, but infrequently. Whether it's 2 times or 3 times a week, you're going to have to decide again where you are. But containers, citrus, young trees, and new plantings might need some additional water. And I have a lot of container plants, and I'm noticing I need to water them daily because the soil is drying out so much. If you have a lawn, you want to mow your lawn with a sharp blade to a taller height of about 3.5 inches, and that way you will maximize the roots and shade the soil. This will prevent the weed seeds like crabgrass or other annual weeds from sprouting. Make sure to keep checking those irrigation system for leaks or clogs. Where I am, we have so many deer and wild animal. that any sprinklers, I think at least once a week I am fixing my irrigation system. So don't think you can check it once and then forget about it. You really do have to check it. Mulch to retain the soil moisture around plants, 2 to 4 inches is recommended. And then weed regularly because weeds steal the nutrients and moisture from other plants. Deadhead roses and other perennials or annuals to encourage more blooms. And pinch back herbs that begin to flower, like basil and cilantro. Otherwise, they bolt. And just so you know, the flowers are edible, so you don't want to waste that when you pinch them back. Now, monitor for pests, aphids, spider mites, whiteflies. They can all be managed with an insecticidal soap and a strong water spray. As vegetables ripen, harvest them, and that'll promote continued production. Thin your fruit trees if branches are overloaded because otherwise the branches could break. Also, your fruit would get bigger if there's not too much on it. Stake the tall bloomers like gladiolas and dahlias. And watch for signs of sunburn or water stress. Signs include dry edges and leaf curl. I know my azaleas, they definitely were getting sunburn, and I really had to add extra water to them. And then you could shade your sensitive plants with a shade cloth. And then keep clean your bird baths and your feeders. So that's it for being in living color in the summer garden. You're listening to Cynthia Bryan. This is Star Style. Be the star you are. When we come back from break, we'll have a business bite, and then we will be talking about smartphone safety. I should say that 5 times. Smartphone safety, smartphone safety. Well, anyway, you get the drift. Again, stay with me. I'll be back in a bit. Happiness is a choice. By creating more joy and happiness in your life, you will be a better employee or employer. Joyful people are optimistic and energetic. To help yourself on the journey to more fun in the workplace, write a to do list every day, and at the top, write as your number one goal, enjoy myself. Recharge your batteries with enough sleep, a good healthy diet, and social interactions. Share positive feelings and accomplishments with your peers. Respect yourself and others. See humor in mistakes and imperfections, and allow yourself to be playful and identify activities that make you happy. Because when you're joyful, your enthusiasm will be contagious in the company, allowing your bottom line to have more dollar signs. It takes more muscles to frown than to smile, so smile a lot. Remember, you're the star of your own performance. Turn your passions into profits. I'm Cynthia Bryan with another business bite from Starstyle. For more information, visit cynthiabryan.com. That's cynthiabryan.com. Well, we're back. I'm Cynthia Bryan, and you're listening to Star Style Be the Star You Are. Well, I think all of us have a smartphone. Mine is Apple. I'm a real Apple person. But, whatever phone you have, just take a moment to think about how much of your daily life is managed by that smartphone in your hands. And if you're like most people, that phone is your connection to the outside world. You get your information there. Some people get their entertainment. That's not part of me. Maybe you pay others with it. You probably have a lot of photos. Maybe you have your health or finances or so much more. But now think about how much sensitive personal data might be stored on that phone and in the apps that you've downloaded. So if you consider your phone to be an all in one tool for daily living, then you absolutely need to protect it from outside threats, just as you would protect, your partner, a loved one, a child, or whoever it is in your life. So here are some tips for securing your privacy and identity while using your smartphone, including what you might do in a worst case scenario should your phone become lost, stolen, or hacked. I think we all know about multi-factor authentication. Yes, it's a hassle, but it is the least you can do to protect your phone. You need to lock it with a password and making sure the code is not something obvious like your birthday. And you should shield that phone from prying eyes when you put that code in public. Now, more important is that multi-factor authentication that confirms your identity by requiring you to take an additional action to use your phone. It could be a biometric authentication like scanning your face or your fingerprint. On an iPhone, you can set up Touch ID or Face ID. On a Samsung or Google, you can set up fingerprint scanning. But if your phone's lost or stolen while the screen is locked, at least thieves cannot get into it. Now, securing your apps, people don't even think about this one. You need to lock down access to your apps, especially those that might contain sensitive personal data. So, besides using a unique password for every app, add that multi-faction authentication. You can download a verified authenticator. That's an app like Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator. There's other ones, and then you can link to your other apps to authenticate. But be sure you sign out of an app after you use it and do that every time. That way, no one can access your accounts unless they've got your usernames, passwords, and physical possession of your unlocked phone. But we want it to be locked. Now, download apps only from a safe source. That probably goes without saying because there's a lot of sketchy apps out there that are used by fraudsters to harvest personal data or even plant malware on your phone. So you can reduce the risk by downloading apps only from Apple's App Store or from the Google Play Store. And while there's no guarantee that malicious apps won't show up in those stores, they at least have put in some measures to place and greatly minimize the odds of that happening. And you might want to check reviews and ratings and make sure that any financial or healthcare app is the official one that's offered by the company and not a fraudulent knockoff. You just heard what I said about the FedEx thing. The next thing is to keep your software updated. I know a lot of people that don't update their phones or, their software at all. So if you ever ignore those notifications, you might be putting yourself in harm's way because whenever there's a system update, it almost always includes a security upgrade or some kind of new patch to fix some kind of existing vulnerability. You could turn on automatic software updates and make sure your phone always has that latest protection against any cyber threats. Another one is to clean up your apps. I got to get on this because if you have a lot of screens filled with apps, chances are you're not using all of them. And unused apps may be running older software and then they can have security vulnerabilities or they're just taking up a lot of space. So as for apps you're still actively using, make sure that you have updated to the latest version. So again, turn on those automatic updates wherever possible. I don't like to give permission to anybody to or any app for anything. App permissions are a set of rules that determine which types of data can be accessed by an app. So an app might, for example, seek a permission to access your location, record audio or video, or access files on your phone. And that could raise a privacy concern, especially because many apps collect this data and then they sell it to third parties. So it's important to limit permissions in order to prevent apps from collecting data that you don't want to share. And you can look into your iPhone and your Android devices to see how to do that. Public Wi-Fi, you got to be careful because they are magnets for bad actors who want to spy on your location or online activities. Some free networks are even fakes that are created by fraudsters to install malware on your device or even steal your personal information. Now, if you absolutely have to use public Wi-Fi, while you're on your phone, you should set up a virtual private network. That's a VPN, like Safe Wi-Fi from IDX. A VPN encrypts your Wi-Fi connection to keep your privacy protected. Just be careful at cafes and airports, etc. Back up your data. Make sure that you back up your phone's data so that it's securely stored in the cloud. And again, you can look on the help section of iPhone or Android to find out how to do it. And that way, if your device is lost or stolen, you'll still have access to your important files and settings. And then finally, if you need to erase a missing phone, so let's just say you think your phone is lost or stolen, you don't want to panic. Along with keeping your data backed up, as I said, just a second ago, you want to remotely lock the phone. So for iPhone, you use the lost mode. You can go to iCloud.com. And for the newer Android phones, I think it's called Remote Lock. And that lets you lock a phone from another device using your phone number and a security challenge. And if you need to remotely wipe, what that means to erase a phone's data to keep others from accessing it, be sure you have a cloud backup first. And again, just go to the help section on your iPhone or your Android, and that way you will find out how to do it. And then you can track the location of your lost or stolen phone by using Find Devices on iPhone or Find My Device for Android. And I think those are hopefully some helpful tips for you. Well, that is the show for today. So, again, I thank you for tuning in to Star Style Be the Star You Are with me, Cynthia Bryan. Every week, I try to give you some good information and take you into the garden and to nature as much as possible. Remember, you can change your life, you can make your dreams come true. For more information about Star Style Productions or to purchase any of my current 11 books, I will have the 12th book up for a pre-sale soon at a discount. So be checking that. Go to cynthiabryan.com. If you want to get in information for the charity Be the Star You Are or help in disaster relief, visit bethestaryouare.org. For let's see, for everything else, I just want to say that my aim is always to encourage, inspire, amuse, and motivate. Want you to see beyond your physical being. Know you already are the star you dreamed of becoming. Cherish the past, dream of the future, and celebrate every moment of your life. And until next week, when we celebrate once again here on the Star Style Playground, remember that love always wins, kindness always prevails, and smiles keep us happy. Be kind, be inclusive, tell the truth, live with integrity, embrace cultures, love unconditionally, encourage others, be generous, read, lead, succeed, communicate, collaborate, innovate, and be your unapologetically authentic self because everyone counts. So, again, until next week, I encourage you to go out into the world and be yourself, be the star you are. Have a wonderful week and celebrate every moment.